Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to this exciting live coding session. I'm Kevin Blanco, and I am thrilled to be your host for today's journey into the world of low code innovation. We have an incredible lineup for you, and we are about to embark on a coding adventure like no other. To be honest, I am genuinely excited, and I think you should be as well. As usual, I'd like to take a moment to appreciate the incredible diversity and richness within our global community. We're always fascinated to learn where our audience is joining from. So before we kick things off, please feel free to share in the comments where are you connecting from. So please don't be a stranger. I honestly always love to see all of the different countries people are joining from. All right, so let me introduce a familiar face, my esteemed colleague and senior DevRel advocate, the one and only Joseph Feti. Hey, Joseph, how are you doing?
Hey Kevin, how's it going?
I'm doing good. What about you?
Oh, excited. We got a really cool app here we're going to be working on today. Got a special guest. Excited to get started.
Exactly. I am extremely excited. So, without further ado, Joseph, let's bring the special guest for today, who is at the front of innovation. So, please join me in welcoming Baserow's co-founder, Bram. Hey, Bram, how's it going?
Hey Kevin, hey Joseph. It's going well. Yeah, thank you for having me. I really like your glasses, by the way, Kevin.
I'm glad you do. I'm glad you do. Everybody thinks that's like my new branding, and I kind of like it. So yeah, I usually use it. It's my lucky charm for every live stream. Um, Joseph, we're extremely excited because Baserow has been a product that we have been using for some templates, for some demoing, and having Bram here, it's definitely something great, not only for us, but for our audience and also Baserow's audience. So we're extremely honored. But before we jump in, Bram, could you tell us a bit about your journey and that led you co-found Baserow and what exactly Baserow is all about?
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, for those who don't know me, I'm Bram. I'm the CEO of Baserow, but my background is actually in software development. Within the company, I'm mainly responsible for like product development strategy. And my co-founder Olivier is more marketing, sales, pricing, that area. I'm based in the Netherlands, but the whole company is actually a remote-only company. So everyone is scattered throughout Europe, and we have some people in the US as well. And to answer your question, how I got started with Baserow, as I said, my background is in software development, and I love to have side projects. So there isn't a grand plan or anything. I learned about Airtable at some point, and I was really impressed with how their software works. And I just thought, hey, let's do an open source Airtable-like alternative and just start with that as a side project. So I worked on that in the weekends and in the evenings. There was like no grand plan or anything. I just like to have side projects. But while I was working on it, I discovered some pain points that other no-code databases have. And I decided to solve them. And yeah, since then the company has grown from just me to finding a co-founder to hiring more developers. Yeah, to the stage where we're in today.
Awesome. And for how long has been Baserow like being live as a product?
Yeah, so I think I started working on it in the beginning of 2019. And because I was only working on it in the evenings and weekends, and because I wanted to write like high quality code that's like scalable, well documented, and everything, it took like a year to launch the first version. But when I launched it, I saw a lot of like traction happening, a lot of people that got excited about it, and that's what motivated me to invest more of my time into it. So I think first day that it became live, it was April 2020, around that period. I'm not really sure, but yeah, that's the moment when I launched it.
Excellent. So we already show it, but in case you missed it, you can scan this QR code to sign up for Baserow. We'll take you to the Baserow website. You can start free and you can start creating your own projects and follow up what Joseph is going to be building today, which actually leads me to Joseph. Why don't you just give us a hint or what that we're going to be building today so we can get some people excited and maybe follow up your journey creating the account on Baserow as well?
Sure. Yeah. So today we're going to be using a Baserow template. Actually, there's a personal finance manager template. And I was looking through the templates. I wanted something that I could use to chart data as an example that had lots of number of fields that we could chart, as well as like categories, like expense type or a certain date range and whatnot. And so I'm using that personal expense manager template and then charting some data on top of that. So we can basically make a dashboard and figure out, for this time period or this expense type, and be able to look at some aggregate data. So actually, let me show real quick. I'll show what it is that the end goal that we're building towards. I'm not sure how far we'll get today, but I can show you where we're starting, and then we'll pivot to the actual build here.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead. And while you pull that, Bram, I wanted to ask you, because Joseph just mentioned about templates. We at Appsmith, we have templates that people can extend from or start from, but also Baserow has templates, right?
Yeah, definitely. So for those who don't know what Baserow is, it's like an open source no-code database tool. It allows you to build like a relational database very easily, so you don't need any technical experience to do so. The interface looks a little bit like a spreadsheet because a lot of people are familiar with those kind of tools. And even though the software is open source, we offer like a great user experience. But yeah, you can solve many use cases with a tool like Baserow. You can, for example, build a project management system, an applicant tracker, a CRM system, a finance management solution. And we have a lot of templates. I think close to 100 at this point. So yeah, you can solve a lot of use cases, and a couple of big USPs that Baserow has is, of course, that it's open source, that you can also self-host it on your own server. It's API first, so everything that you can do in the tool, you can also do that via the API. You could create plugins for it. People can actually contribute templates to it, and it's very scalable in terms of how much rows of data you can actually store into it.
Excellent. So let's take a look at it in action. So Joseph, why don't you show us what
Sure.
we're going to be building?
Yeah, it's one of my go-to tools for backend. If you need something that's got an API and you can store data and files in the same system, and there's a free plan, so I tend to use it a lot for stuff like this. And so today I've got the personal finance manager template. Here we are. You can copy this from their template gallery, and this comes with multiple tables here. There's a summary table, then the income, and then all these different tables of expenses, and they all have a expense type category and the actual value and estimated value. And so this is a really good example to be able to just swap between different tables, because I wanted to make a flexible charting tool, not something that's locked to to one API or one table and hard coded, but make it dynamic that you can just put in any table and start charting your data. So here's this food expense one. I'm going to copy this URL, and if I paste this into this app I've set up, we'll rebuild this today. It will request this data from that endpoint. You can see a sample of it here, and the data comes back nested, like the select fields, multi-selects. There's arrays. This one is an array with an object. Sometimes it's just an object directly, but the data is that it's a good thing that it's structured that way. That allows you to have the colors, and you can add formatting and have the ID separate from the name, so that you can change it without having to update it everywhere. So it's definitely an advantage from that perspective, but it does make it like difficult to chart this stuff, how to flatten the data and get down to the value part and chart. So I've set this up so that you can just easily pick a chart type and whatever fields that you want to chart by. Here I'm showing the actual versus estimated and the sums of each of those. You might want to look at actual on both sides and compare the sum with the average. And we'll change this to a bar so it's a little easier to read. And then you can sort it by either field, like alphabetically, or by the numerical value. So we'll look at how to build this today, how to create a Baserow data source and connect to the API. And then once you have the data, how to go actually charting it. So Kevin, should I just keep going and roll into the build, or any questions?
Yeah, no, that seems pretty exciting to me, actually. That's quite a lot to do on a live stream, and you always surprise me, Joseph. So I think we can get started. Bram, do you have any comments before we see Joseph's magic in action?
No, I think I think it's really cool what you're going to build. So good luck with that, definitely. Maybe a small update from our side. We've done like a big release this month, the December release. It contains a lot of cool features like group by a field in the grid view. Lots of new field types like the last modified field type created by UUID, auto number, duration. uh, Receive notifications when a form is submitted. There are like many changes in there, so definitely check out our release blog post. But other than that, I wish you good luck building it, Joseph.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm enjoying the new features, the new calendar view, the filter query builder. I noticed that in the API docs. That saves a ton of time. So yeah, keep them coming. Loving the new updates.
Excellent.
Cool.
So
Glad
for
to hear
everyone,
that.
I already have my cup of coffee. I see Joseph also has. So get ready to start rock and rolling because Joseph is gonna throw some magic. So get ready, take a seat, and let's see Joseph's doing it.
All right. Hold on. One thing. I'm not quite ready. Okay. They're
All
ready to
right.
build Appsmith and Baserow.
Now we're
All right.
That's
talking.
really cool.
Yeah, I submitted something for your Built with Baserow contest earlier this year, and I got a T-shirt out of it. So, all right.
Cool. Yeah, it's well deserved.
So we'll start out making a API key. So the first thing before you start doing the API request from Appsmith, you'll want to create a API key in Baserow, and you can do that right from the table itself while you're inside one of these tables in Baserow. Go to the settings, and then database tokens. And so here you can create a new token. I've already got this set up, but I want to show how to get to it here. So you can create a new one and pick which workspace you want it to apply to. This will give it access potentially to all of the tables in that workspace. So the token is tied to a specific workspace, and I've got a few set up here. Let me get back to that. So I'm using one here in this Appsmith demo workspace. And if I show the databases here, you can see it gives you very granular control. You can pick specific tables, and once you create this token and go to use it in your app, that API will only be able to read if you select, if you deselect everything else here. So you can safely make a token that just gives read access to just one table and then build an app on that if you're trying to make like a dashboard that's read only for management or whatnot. Or you could make like a CRUD app that can edit everything, but just one table. So very granular. Once you've created that key, then here in the little menu, you can copy it, and you'll want to take that over to Appsmith to create the data source. But before we leave here, check out the View API docs. I've got that open here, and let me just show the in-between step here because this is kind of neat. Some platforms have like hard-coded API docs, and there's just kind of like a reference or a generic, telling you this would be where an ID goes or whatnot. Whereas with Baserow's API docs, they are specific to the table. There's a separate set of docs for each one, and it's not generic. It's like going to tell you the exact endpoint names and IDs and everything. And so this makes it a lot easier to copy and paste these curl requests. And so we'll see how to use that to create a data source here in a minute. I'll go to this personal expense table. And so you see how it shows the ID right here. They got the name and the ID of it. And then if you want to list the fields, it's a GET request. So you can see the curl right here or HTTP. This makes it really easy to just copy this and paste it into Appsmith to import the API. So if I want to start a new one to import from this personal expense table, list the fields here. So I will copy this curl request, and we'll come over here to create a new data source. And so I've already got this set up. I'm going to start a new page in this app, and we'll just keep building the blank page here and work towards this finished one that's already set up. So then for the data source here on the sidebar, we're going to add a new data source. And I've already set up one for this, but here's the plus sign where you would add a new one. And we want to create a authenticated API, but there's actually kind of a quicker or a shortcut way to fill this out using a curl import. So there's like 3 different ways to set this up. You could either create an API first, then save the credentials, and it becomes an API, authenticated data source, or you can create the data source first, or import a curl request. It really just depends on your preference or where you're getting the source from. But here I've got that curl, and you see that it is put in the table ID so I can get data from that specific one, but it does not put in the token. So right here, I want to put the token for my app. Now I don't want to put this on the screen here, so we'll I've already got this saved, but I'm not going to import this one. You can paste your token right here. So go back to the table itself where we saw it in the settings, and you can copy the token from the settings there, paste it into the curl request, and when you import it, it'll already be authenticated and working. So like right there. And you copy that in, replace it here and import. That'll create a new API. Like I said, I don't want to show the key there, so I'm skipping that step. But once you have that, you'll have an API that is already authenticated. You'll see that this does not have any headers, and it is saved as a data source now. So once you've got your API working, you can click Save as a Data Source. I'm going to go edit this one, and you'll see that there is an API key. The header is authentication, and then there's a header prefix of token. So I got that from the API docs right here. You can see that it uses a header called authentication. You have your actual token, but then there's a prefix of the word token. Sometimes it's bearer or basic. So with this one, the prefix is token. And so I have already saved that. I don't want to save this again because you'll notice that there is no value here. This is an encrypted field. When you put something in it and save it, it goes to the Appsmith server, and then that value is secure. It's saved on the server. Nobody's going to have access to it. And even me is the one that made it. I pulled up this form to edit it, and it's blank. So it's a lot like creating an API key in other platforms where they only show it once. You can save it, you can use it, you can share the data source with other people, but once it is entered and saved, it's going to come back up blank. So I'm not going to click save on this. I've already got the API set up and working, but it's pretty simple. It's just the URL and then that one API header. And now that gets added to every API that I make under that data source. Okay. So with that set up, I'm going to start the first API now on my blank page, and we'll use that existing data source. So I have this data source already configured that will add that header, and it adds that base, that like root of the URL. The next thing, if I wanted to get a specific table here, so we'll go back to living expenses, and let's say I want to list these fields. So you can see that after the API, it's database, fields table, and then whatever that ID is. That's the only part of this that's going to change from one endpoint or one field to the next. The API is the same, and then after that, that's what's dynamic. So I'm copying just that portion, and we'll take that, add it to this new API, and since it's part of that authenticated data source that we've set up, it has the header. So if we run this, and we have our first live failure. All right, so what do we miss? No permissions on table. So I think I might have a table ID that is valid but not connected to that token for this particular base. I ran into this before. So let's go back and look at, this is like this particular table number. I think I had a couple different copies. I know what I did here. I've got multiple copies of this template, and it's the same name, but it's in other workspaces. Yeah, so I want to be using this Appsmith demo one, personal finance manager. I had another one in a different table, and that is a different number. So if I take this table number from the URL, let's see what this does. There we go. Okay.
There you go.
So, I'm going to name this while I'm here. So this is this one's a specific table. What I showed on the preview a minute ago is that you can paste in a URL and make it dynamic and use it for anything. We're going to start out hard coded. Let's keep it simple first. So this one is listing what was that? Which expense? Food. So we'll call this get food expenses. All right, so we have our first API. We're getting data back from Baserow, and now we want to display it in a table. There's actually this quick shortcut right here that will create a table widget for you and connect the data. And it just like adds it to the canvas for you. It tells the API to run on page load. That's the option that you can turn on, but this does it for you. And so as soon as the user lands here, you know, the data's connected and it's ready to go. So we have our first table set up. Let's say we wanted to chart some data from this. We have, let's see, what's repeating? Oh, I know what we're doing here. Let's see, JS, data. I think is there a dot results? I can't remember. No, it is just dot data. Okay. Sometimes it's nested and there's like the dot data and then a dot results. So this set of data here is not quite as, this is like the table itself. So let's look at the API docs here again. I think I got the wrong endpoint. It's not the actual row data. So we'll go back to the API docs from the database token here. I should have just left that page open. Appsmith demo, personal finance. I've got that extra copy was throwing me off. Food expenses, list rows. I think that's what I did. I list the fields. Okay, that's why the data looked weird. So this is the endpoint that we need. I don't want that quote at the end. And then I just got to swap that out over here. Now we're getting the actual rows of data. See, I knew there should have been a dot results. The data structure looked off. Inside of here, what, does it need to run again? Let's see. Yeah. I think I'm typing too fast for it here and I didn't save. Seems like it could be a little slow here with the streaming, maybe it's messed with my connection, but now we got it. So this is looking for, we're getting back row data. Some of them are primitive, you know, like a number or a string or Boolean, but then you've got these fields that are nested. It's like an array of objects, or this one is just an object and you want to get down to that value. So I spent some time at this problem basically, at like how to chart this stuff. And I don't want to walk through all of the JavaScript from scratch. I just want to show the easy way that what I came to get this to where you can chart anything, whether it's min or max or you know, totals or a grouping by a column. And so I'm not going to walk through all the JS, but I just want to show what you're getting into, what's the hard way, and then how to do it easily with Lodash. So let's look at the first option over here. Okay, so let's say you wanted to chart just a particular field like the expense type and compare that to the actual cost. And you want to take every single expense type and make a new category and total that. You have to do 2 loops. You'll loop through the data one time to accumulate the totals. Check each particular row. It's in this category. Okay, add that here and then go to the next one. And so you do your first loop to build the totals. And then you have to map over it a second time to turn it into that XY format that the chart widget wants. I'll jump back to the canvas and show that in a minute. But the chart widget is looking for an array of objects that are a series of XY data. And so you loop over it once, get your totals, loop over it again, and create the XYs. There's tons of ways to do a loop in JavaScript. I'm using a for loop here, but you could do for in, for of, while, do while, for each, map, whatever. Point is, you can loop the first time and then map it to the XY. The next option is a reduce. So I did this one where I take the data and I want to get this one field and just get the count. And so I reduced it to the totals. But then again, you still have to do a second one to map it to the XYs. And then on the third one, here I'm using Lodash. And so this is as simple, as clean as I could get it down to just 2 lines. You've got the data that you're passing in. Here it is a JSON path. This is not just a single field name. So by using Lodash, now you can actually drill down into the fields and not have to have one type of function to use arrays and a different one for objects and whatnot. This just takes the JSON path and applies that to the row and finds whatever nested part of it, right? So Lodash will let you do that. It's similar to JSON path, but it's not the exact same library. And so this is way better. It's down to 2 lines, but it only does counts. It's only doing the totals, right? And so what I came up with after several iterations with ChatGTP, I've got a version that handles all the cases here. So you pass it in your data, and then what calc type do you want to do? Sum, average, min, max, or whatever. What's the X field? And you always need those 3. And then the Y, you need it for everything except count. If you just want to count the occurrences of like a group field or whatever, you can do that with only the X. Everything else you need like X and Y. So it's really clean, simple to implement. You just give it the data, a calc field, and then the X and the Y, and we'll be able to use this in all of our charts. So what I'm going to do is copy this, just this one function here, and we'll use this in our new page. All right, so on this page, we have really nothing yet other than a single API, and we're displaying the raw response with all of these nested properties and objects and arrays that are difficult to chart. So I'm going to add a new JS object, and we'll paste in this one function that I already have written. We'll put this, I'll have this in the video later when we share it in a link so that you guys can use this. The one dependency it looks like I have here is this radio group to select the type of chart, and I'm passing in that value so the user can change it. So let's go ahead and set that up. We'll get a chart widget and a radio group here for that. So we want to add a chart, and then we'll give the user a option to pick which type. Actually, that was not the chart type. This is the XY for the sort. So that's not actually an input to the function to be able to map it. It doesn't care at that point. And so it's kind of added on after. That's why it's kind of an external dependency there. So we want to have an X and a Y here. And this lets the user choose the field to sort by later on. So I've got a radio group 1 now that has an X and a Y, and that's what that my function was looking for there. We'll head back here. All right. And now we need to give this thing some defaults. So the data that we want to use is right here, get food expenses, and then remember it's .data.results in this case. So we'll get food expenses.data.results. There's that property, parameter rather. The calc type, I am just going to hard code this because we don't have a widget yet for it, but just to get this working so that you guys can see how to implement this. I'm not so much rebuilding the code here from scratch because I didn't want to walk through the hard way and then how I got to this. I want to show you guys how to implement it. You can copy and paste this function And then everything that you need to edit is right here in the input parameters of it. So we're passing in our API that we just created. I want to do a sum. The X field, let's look at the data. We'll go back here, and I guess I'll use the widget since we already have it on here. We could do the summary period first. We'll group it because this repeats, right? You've got like, what, 6 rows here or something of the first month, and then there's some of the second. And so we'll use that for the X. And for Y, for like the other value that we're looking against, we'll go with I think it's actual cost. Get into preview mode here so I can use the, yeah. So that's a number. This one is not nested. It's a direct number, whereas the summary period, that one, you can see it's an array first, and then an object, and then dot value. So we'll go back here to the function. And so the X field that we want is summary period, an array. We want the first element in that array, and then its value. And the Y field was just actual cost. It's not nested. All right. And there we have it. XY series of data. We've got a bunch of objects that are grouped by no more repeating, right? So there's only a single one of the 2022-01, single one of that. And now we can connect this to our chart widget. So we'll come back here to the chart. And you see how it's hard-coded when you first add a chart widget. This is to show you the data format that it is expecting. That's what we just generated with the XY series. So I can clear this out. And if I just reference that JS object one chart function here, and I don't need to pass in any parameters because the function's doing that. It has defaults. But what if we want 2 charts and we want 2 different sets of data, right? And you don't want them to be both the same. So the defaults are really helpful when you're right here working in the editor, because you want to be able to click run and actually like see it use something. But then later you want to use it with other inputs, right? So this is the order that it's expecting: the data, a calc type, and then the 2 field names. So next what we'll do is set up some dynamic inputs for these, the calc type and the different field inputs. I think these are easier because that's just a text input. So I'm going to do those first. And then for the calc type, we'll have to make a select with a dropdown. So come back here, and on our chart, I want to be able to just type in 2 field names here and see the chart update with that data. So I'm adding 2 different inputs. How are we doing on time, Kevin? Kevin, did I lose you?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I was speaking, but I was muted. No, I've been following up. It's 30 minutes already.
Cool.
I think we still could be like 15 more minutes. I believe 45 minutes is like a good timing session. So you still have time.
Cool. So right now I'm naming these inputs. You don't have to name every widget, but it's really important to name the ones that you have more than one of that type of widget and you are referencing it in other APIs or JavaScript. What is input 1? What is input 2, right? So I like to use a 3-letter prefix, always 3 letters and then an underscore. And then when you go to find these things later, when you're not looking at the widget and you're over here trying to type it, you just start typing what it starts with. And you don't even have to really remember the name. It's just, I know I had some kind of input. Oh yeah, it was input Y. So that's the convention I like to use, is start with the widget type and an underscore. And then this autocomplete works better for you because it starts with that. Okay, so now we're passing in the text from those 2 fields, and these are blank. I could just type it in right here, but I like to put it in the default so that it's there when the page loads, so that if the user refreshes, it's got something in there. And so this one, I will put in that same field that's nested. So you're able to pass this in as a string. And then the function is using Lodash, which is then doing something similar to JSON path. I looked it up. They're not actually using JSON paths library, but they take that string and find that path within the object that you're passing in. So for this one, we'll make the default the actual cost. And the one thing we don't have yet is a way to select the chart type. It's locked to sum right now, and that's the data type. And then we also need like the type of chart as far as like a bar, or if you change this to JS, you'll see that the actual value, there's a label version here, and then the actual value is hard-coded, or it's all caps. And so we need a way to let the user select that. Now, I made this really dynamic. You can change the X and the Y and the sort and the chart type and whatnot. You might not need to add all that to your app. You could just hard code it and make one type of chart. So in a way, it's kind of making it more complex, but it's a single solution, and then you can just plug it into anything and use any kind of chart. So what I'm going to do is add a select widget where we can pick a chart type. And call it chart type. Okay, so this needs a list of all of the types of charts. I'm not going to go type all this out again. I did it yesterday, and I have it right here. Okay, so here's my new one. We'll paste this in. And then I got to change a couple things here. There's the what property are we using for the label and the value? And now they're called label and value. And then what do we want the default to be? Okay, so select chart type should be the input to this chart. But right now it's hard-coded. So we'll change this to JS and tell it to look at that select widget for chart type and get its selected value. And now when I change the chart type here, the chart's following along. So we've got part of it dynamic so far. We can change the chart type. The XY, is that sorting yet? Summary period 0. Yeah, we're not quite there yet. Let's see what we're missing on the inputs. Calc type, that's hard-coded still. So I'll do I did a radio button for this one instead of a select. You could use either one, but let's make a new radio button and then get those options for that. My UI is kind of a mess here. It's not as pretty as the other one. All right, in the options for this one, for the radio group, here we're looking for the different types of charts, sum, total, or whatever, and min and max. And again, I'm just going to copy these from over here. Let's see, chart type, order by. Oh yeah, I have it inside of my JSON forms. So in this case, I used a single JSON form for these instead of separate widgets. But the point is just being able to pass in the parameters and see how that works. So over here, I've got my JSON array of select options, and we'll use that. Same data structure for the radio group here. Okay. And I should update the label here. So this one's the calc type. And then we want to pass that value into the function so that it uses that calc type. And this one, now we got two radio groups here. So this is a good time to rename. maybe rad, there we go. Calc type. And I didn't label that one either. Sort. All right, we're almost there. So back here, this is the last part that wasn't dynamic yet. And we've got a rad for calc type. Okay. All right. Now you can see there's some labels here that you can still change on the chart. Not quite everything is tied in and connected to the data. It doesn't know that this is summary period here. It's calling it revenue, right? But that's still an input. It's a place over here in the chart that you could put an expression and make it dynamic. So I'm not going to go through and tweak every little thing like that, but I just wanted to call out that it is possible this sales report here could be a dynamic reference to something else and tell you that it's actual cost. So all those things can be passed in to customize the chart. But I think let's go ahead and deploy this, even though the UI is kind of a mess here and clunky. I just want to test it out without everything dragging around. It's a little tough to see it live in the editor. Okay, now you can see the chart is not rendering, and we don't have a default selected value on 2 of these things here, so I'm sure that's something to do with it. All right, there we go. So the average wasn't giving me much there. I think there's some zeros. Summary period versus actual cost. And looks like I might have them backwards. The X and the Y value, because those are numbers for labels. So let's check out the function where we're passing them in. I might have named the widgets backwards. X field, summary period. And then Y field is the actual cost. Ah, yes, there it is. See the wires crossed? Okay, so this one should be X, and that one should be Y.
Live coding and debugging, that's the way it is.
There's an easy fix there. That looks better. Okay, so now the labels are the summary period, and the columns here are showing the actual cost sum. And then I could do the average here, or the min or the max. And now we can look at the next field, and instead of summary period, we could look at expense type. Now you'll notice that summary period is an array. And so after the name summary period, I have a index 0 to get the first element. And with expense type, it's not an array, it is just an object. So get back to preview mode here. So for this one, we'll just do expense type dot value. And now we're looking at groceries, eating out, drinking water. So you can see that it is seeing that expense column, finding the groups, getting the actual cost, and we'll go with total. All right. Now, on the other version of this, I could just paste in a link and do this with any table. So right now we've got it to where we can pick a chart type. Everything's dynamic, but it's locked to that one API. So now let's get it to where it's dynamic and we can do a different endpoint, a different table. All right, so we'll go back to edit and need to clean this up a little bit. It's such a mess. So we'll do the chart type and the sorter. And then get our 2 labels together here. Getting some lag with the dragging because I'm streaming, I guess. All right, that looks better. So I want an input at the top here, and we don't need to see really more than a couple rows. The point is to need, like, you want the field names and to see if it's an array or an object so that you can help type in those fields. So I'm going to group all these into a container. Bring this up. Okay. And now I want somewhere to put in the link for the table here. Change the label here to, we want the URL for the base. And I like to keep this default updated with something that's actually valid, so it's not blank every time it comes up. So I'll give it this table URL for the default. I got 2 tabs open here. There we go. All right, and then we got to update the API to look at this field, to use this one instead of the other version of it. But you see the difference in the URL here. This one is, well, one, it's connected to our data source, right? And it's locked to this root URL. But then 2, this is like data, rows, table, whatever. And to make this easy for the user, I want them to just paste in the URL of the base. So what we need is a way to extract just this chunk here and then replace just that part over here in the API. So instead of taking the entire input field, I want to just take this piece and make it dynamic. So we'll open up the double curly braces here. And inside of this, first I'll get the entire thing, which is input1.text, but I don't want all of that. Get this, make sure you guys can see this. All right, so you can see it's got an entire URL in there. I don't want all that. I want to just grab part of it. This is some regex, so I'm going to do a match and check for a certain thing. And then in that match, it returns an array. There should only be one match if I write the regex properly. So I want the first element in that. And so now we just need the regex that grabs that chunk. So that would be a couple slashes here for a regex expression, back D for the for digits, and then we want more than one of those, and that should grab something, but it might not be the right number because we want it to be the first chunk of numbers after table. It should, I think it should be based on the URL structure data. Oh, it's getting the number before. So I want the second set. But what I'm going to do is use a look ahead, look behind. The thing that comes right after table here. We're going to use regex to find table and then get the chunk that comes after it of digits. So I can never remember if it's behind, ahead or behind, but it's like, if it doesn't work one way, you do it the other.
Well, Joseph, you're one of those guys that build regex by itself. I'm not one of those. I just Google it. This regex.
Let me see if I can do it live. I'm going to try. So right. Before the /D, I've got parentheses. That is a group. If I start it with a question mark, what is it? Arrow equals something. I think maybe the other arrow. I want to look behind the word table and a slash, but I got to escape that slash. I think I got it. I got it on the first try. Yeah, there it is. So it's looking for table, but not returning it because you don't want that to be in your match. You just want to like match things that come after it. So the parentheses here, question mark, this says look after a table. It might be called a look ahead though. I always mix it up. And then it finds a chunk of digits. So now I think we got it. Now we want the API to run when we paste in a link though. So what we'll do is say that on, so you could do this lots of different ways. You could make them hit enter. You could wait till they click out of the field to do on blur, on submit, whatever. Since they're pasted in an entire link, maybe text change is, you expect it all in one shot. So that's one way you could do it. So I'm going to set this to rerun that query every time this changes, which keep in mind, if it's a single text change, that's going to run it, and now there's nothing there. But if they're pasting in a link, it should work. So there's food expenses. Now let's do living. And if I take this link, copy, paste, and that change should trigger. Did it? Can't see all of the rows, so it's kind of hard to tell. Okay, so let's take it out of there just so we know. And when I paste one in there, yes, that does trigger it to run. And the cool thing is, like with this data set, with each section also having a summary period and an expense type and whatnot, that's another thing I liked about this template as an example. It's allowing me to switch back and forth between different sheets and still chart the same thing. Like, well, that's actual cost. Let's look at expense type again. Actually, I'll take this right from the default. There, it's already typed out. Okay, so it's working with this table. We've got one set of summary periods and counts, or we'll do the sum. And then I can come back over here and grab food expenses and grab this URL. And so that'll update, rerun. It looks like maybe it's table. I'm not sure that's actually rerunning. I might need to make the next chunk dynamic. Is that right? Food expenses. I can't tell if I got the same table or not there. Table. So this one starts with 230 here on the food expenses. So does that one 230, 492, 491? Yeah, that's the right part to make it dynamic. Okay. Second guessing myself there. I thought I got the wrong chunk here. I guess there's like the view. I think it's the view because it's not a specific row until you open up a row. It's not that ID yet. Okay. I think I covered all the individual pieces of this thing. It doesn't look as pretty as the other one, but you can paste in that function, pass in a couple parameters, and then change everything about the chart. The one thing I didn't show here is the extra series. So I want to show that real quick. My other example, there's side by side, 2 sets. And I'd have to add a whole new set of all these here to do that. But I just want to show this part here. You can add a new series. Okay. And if I just copy this series data, the exact same function, and put it in this series data. Okay, now you'll see that we have 2 sets of the exact same ones, right? But we don't want it to be exactly the same. So let's go back to the inputs. And if we don't provide any defaults, it's going to take these, which is fine for the first one. I'm going to copy this whole set here. And, oh, that's getting the names too, plus the equals. I don't need all that. So I just got to pass in the individual values. For the data, we'll use the same thing, get food expenses, which is actually dynamic now. It's not just food. Need to rename that. Data.results. Okay, that's the first param. The second one, let's use the same calc type. That would be a mess, I think, if we... or actually, that one, no, you can do. You could do like side by side or the average or the sum. It's the chart type you don't want it to change on each one. That'll be the same. So here, the calc type, that is a radio. Rad calc type, selected value. And let's see. The X field... I think we would want the same X field and then compare a different Y. That's how I did it before. Because you might want to see for this summary period, let's compare the actual cost to the expected, right? So the third parameter is the X field, and that one will be the same, which is input X field. And the last one I'm not going to take from the widget. I want to have a second series that's slightly different. And And so for this one, I'll just hard code it just to show you guys that this works. It will be instead of actual cost, estimated. And now you can see that subtle difference here. And I updated some of this template. You'll notice that if you guys copy this template, it is going to have some blanks in here. And also the expected and actual was the same on all of them. And I wanted to see a difference. So I filled in some of the blanks, and I also put in different values for the actual slight difference, than what you expected, so that you see that side by side here and chart it. So it's a little tough to read all that in there, but basically using this function, you can just pass in those 4 values. And the first one's always your data. Second one's always the calc type. And then you may or may not need both fields there. You need at least one to give it a count, and all the others you give the second field to compare it against. So this is how you can just use that same function, paste it in, and connect to any table, chart multiple series. I could add a third, a fourth, whatever here. So yeah, I hope this was useful. Kevin, got any questions or any last things we should go over?
No questions right now, but just saying that it's quite amazing how much you were able to do in such a short period of time. We have been around 50 minutes, sorry, and it's just amazing how easy it is to pull data from the data source, and the way you. I really love the way you, for example, generated your JSON function, and on the series data, you can pass the data from the data source into the function and see the results right over there. It's just pretty interesting, all of that. So, yeah, I bet you're going to be sharing the final template on the community portal, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. You guys will be able to just copy the template and swap in your data, or you could just view it, use that function, and just copy the function, add that to your app. But I've written it in a way that's works for any chart type, any data. And by using Lodash and that similar to JSON path, it helps avoid any errors if there's like undefined or null values. If you try to do this with vanilla JavaScript, you're going to run into tons of that stuff if there's missing values in your data, and it works most of the time, and then it gets an error on certain rows. So this approach covers all of that, and it's a single function for every chart type. It's a lot easier than having one for average, one for total, one for every single approach, and then you got to do it again for the next field, So tried to make it as portable as possible.
Exactly. And if you follow up to the end, and you kind of missed something or you want to go back, definitely go and check out the template. It's already in the community portal. You will see the template section on the main menu, and definitely you will find it over there. Also, want to thank Bram, who had to drop before the end, but thank you so much, Bram, for joining. He's the co-founder of Baserow, the backend system that Joseph used today. So thank you very much, Bram. I know you're probably watching afterwards, but yeah, really, really thankful to have you here. It's great to have the co-founder of the actual product that we use today.
Yeah, Bram, thanks again. Really enjoy the product. I've been using it for a couple of years now, and it's been a go-to of mine. I love that you can do the file storage and data and have an API all in one endpoint. So it's very useful.
Excellent. So Joseph, today is the last live coding of the year, the ultimate event for the 2023. So any closing words for our community, because this is the last time you will see us in 2023, and next time is going to be 2024.
Yeah, so this is something that we're just getting started, like regularly doing these events, and next year, it will keep on going. We're going to be looking for ideas from the community about what APIs or data sources you'd like to see us cover, or maybe specific use cases, and build an app to solve a certain problem. So this will be every month. We'll do a live coding session, try to incorporate other platforms and guests like we did today. So let us know your ideas, and we'll have something new on the schedule for next year.
Exactly. Definitely give us feedback, because the feedback is the way that we continue to grow. And actually, I want to take a moment to thank you, our users, because you're the heart and soul of Appsmith. Your feedback, insights, and the fantastic applications you have built have not only inspired us, but also played a crucial role in shaping the evolution of Appsmith. So together, we have created something extraordinary. As we look ahead to 2024, we're thrilled to share that the best is yet to come. We have an exciting lineup of features and enhancements that will take Appsmith to new heights. Our team has been working hard to bring you the best local platform that exceeds your expectations. So thank you for being part of the Appsmith family. Your support fuels our passion, and we're honored to have you with all of us on this journey. So here's to an amazing 2024 filled with innovation, collaboration, and endless possibilities. So happy coding, and we cannot wait to see the incredible things you will build with AppSpeed on 2024. So happy New Year and have a great one.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.